going to do it. Oh, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. You'll notice that Lee isn't here, and he's stupidly left me to deal with the technology. So just bear with me 1 second whilst I just set this up, and hopefully it works. Because as we know, I'm not great at technology. So I think we're on. So let me just do the necessary.
We are, yeah.
If you're watching, just let us know. Oh, hang on a minute. I need to share it into the group. 1 second. See, this is where I always go wrong. Right, hang on a second. We'll share it in there. That should be done. See, it's a bit of a ball ache these days when I'm doing lives. Right, hang on. There we go. Right, I think we're good. Tegyn can check that. But make sure that I've done it properly. Right, hello everyone. Welcome to this week's episode. We are slightly delayed by a day, just because it's been very, very hectic here. So, as obviously I've mentioned, you cannot see Lee. He's abandoned me for the day and is travelling back from Wales because he's been helping his mum build their garden bar or something. He has many talents, that man. So he is hopefully listening to us on his way home and is probably laughing because it's taken me 5 minutes to do the technology side. If you have just joined the group or the page, my name is Vicky and I run the pet account alongside Lee. We are licensed accountants and we work across the UK with any size business. So if you need accountant, then let us know and we'll put some banners and things will fly across the screen and let you know how to contact us. As you have probably seen, there is someone else next to me in a fancy wine bar. It's not real. I'm joined by the lovely Tegyn, who a lot of you, if you're clients of ours or if you've called up, will have no doubt spoken to Tegyn probably for the first hour, either talking about accounts or dog grooming or trees, birds, whales, sharks, and anything in between. If you have spoken to her, you'll understand what I mean. She's a bit of a chatterbox. And is also our lovely head of admin and also deals with any new inquiries that we get for sole traders and partnerships. So if you are one of those, the first person you are likely to chat to, unless you've got a really, really complex situation going on, then in which case it would probably come to me or Lee. But otherwise it would go to Tegyn. So welcome, Tegyn.
Thank you. I'm not actually in a wine bar. I'm sure you can tell. It's just because we're renovating the house, so the house is a bit messy. I thought this is better to look at than plastered and.
This is what the house wants to look like, and that's not what it currently looks like.
This is inspiration for the house. So.
Yeah. So Tegyn's a bit shy. She's not really done many of these, so we'll go easy with her today. What I wanted to do today is basically talk about how to get an accountant, whether that be with us, hopefully. If it's with someone else, then, by all means, that's absolutely fine. But we just wanted to go through the process of what happens generally with every accountant when you get one, and how to look for one, what to ask for, the things that you should be looking for, because it is quite daunting if you've never had one. You might feel a bit nervous ringing up because you don't really know what to expect. You're not really sure what questions you're supposed to be asking. And unfortunately, we've had quite a few clients that have come to us who've not had the best experience with their prior accountant, whether that be they've been conned, whether they've just been shit. There's like a raft of reasons why people move, which I'll ask Tegyn about in a bit. But we just thought we'll go through our process. Pretty much every accountant's the same process-wise. There might just be some minor differences. Go through some prices and just generally help you guys. And obviously, hopefully, you'll pick us. If you don't, we'll not be offended. Don't worry. As always, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the comments. I'll get Tegyn to sort of casually check them as we go. Even if it's not related to this topic, we're always happy to answer any questions. So if you've got them, just chuck them in. Obviously, if it's relevant to hear, then fabulous. But right, I'm going to crack on. It's not going to be a mega long one today, guys, but it's a really important one because we have had people fall foul of rogue accountants, so it is a good topic to have. So the first things I'm going to talk about is when you're looking for an accountant, the best place to start is your social media, or their social media, I should say. So whether that be Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok sometimes, do your research. So for example, for us, we have obviously our lovely website. We've got our Facebook page, which you could be watching this on, the Facebook group, Instagram, and all of those platforms will have reviews from clients that have given us. So my advice would be, if you're thinking, right, I need an accountant, where do I start? Have a look on social media, do a bit of Googling and look at the reviews. Because if you've got one accountant that's got 50 good reviews and one accountant that's got no reviews, then that will shed some light on maybe which one you need to go for and have a chat with. So do your research. I don't know, obviously, Tegyn, you speak to a lot of people that ring up.
Yeah.
Generally, where do the people find us from, for example? Where generally do they come from?
I'd say it's a good mixture. A lot of people come from the website. So on a website, we've got a contact us form that you can fill in, put a bit of information about yourself. We get quite a lot of them. Some people ring up, they just simply Google us. I'd say majority are from social media, the group, Facebook page, Instagram.
And here is the website. I'm just getting used to doing the technology side because Lee usually does all this. So I'm just making it as I go along. So do your research first. Like I say, it might be word of mouth. But even if, you've got someone that has used an accountant before, again, still do your research because as we know, and I know Helen's been on our live about a year ago, it's Tegyn's mum.
Yeah.
She had an accountant which came from word of mouth, and it was absolutely shocking. And probably one of the most horrendous ones we've come across so far. Yeah. So even if you get a word of mouth, still do your checks, look at the reviews, look at their website, how much details on the website, look whether they're licensed or not. As Lee's mentioned in previous podcasts, and we did a podcast with Bill a few months ago where we chatted about it briefly, a lot of accountants aren't licensed. Therefore, you don't have much security from that point of view because they're not governed by anybody. They're not checked by anybody. We are a licensed accountant through the AAT, which means we have to keep up to date with various things. We have to follow certain rules. We get audited. We get checked. You can get spot checked, which I think we got spot checked last year at some point for something. We passed. But it just gives you that extra bit of security. So make sure that the person that's doing your bookkeeping or accounting is licensed at least and qualified to do what they're setting out to do. So it could be that you ring up and you ask them. If it doesn't say on their website, then ask them, are you a licensed accountant?
We get asked it sometimes. People ask us on Facebook, they're just doing the checks really, which you should do.
Yeah, because you don't want to just go willy-nilly with anyone that calls themselves an accountant. Like I say, anyone can call them. Tegyn could call herself an accountant if she really wanted to.
The same as dog grooming. Anyone can dog groomer set up at home, and I'm a dog groomer. They don't need to be qualified.
Yeah, it's the same thing. If you had two dog groomers, one was qualified and one wasn't, which one are you more likely to go to? You're going to go to the qualified one. So again, it's a question to ask. It's something to look for on their social media or their website. Normally, accountants or like AAT or ACCA or something like that is probably the most common ones. So just have a check and ask if you're not sure. It's really, really important because, like I say, anyone could sit down and say, there's a local group that I'm in, just like a general town group. And there's this woman just saying, oh yeah, I'll do your limited company accounts for 300 quid. I'll do your self-assessment for 50 quid.
So you're the one that posts photos of her doing yoga?
Yeah, it's very bizarre. She's very scantily clad. photos that she posts with this £50 tax return, whether it's a front for something else, who knows, but either way, if someone's going to charge you 50 quid to do your tax return, if they're a friend or family, fair enough. But if they're just a random accountant that you've come across and they've said, right, I'll charge you 50 quid to do your self-assessment, that is a sign, that's a red flag, and you should probably not go with them. Like I said, some friends and family obviously do it cheap, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But if you don't know them and they're just completely random, like this woman that I found on this Facebook group that puts half naked pictures of herself saying she'll do it for 50 quid, then I'd probably be a bit worried. Yeah. So do your due diligence. It's a very hard word to say. And check all of these things. Check the social media, check the website, check if they're licensed. Just do some digging before you part with your money. And not even that, you're entrusting someone to deal with your business finances. If they get it wrong, it could cause a whole horror of issues. So it's something that shouldn't be done lightly. And again, when we get people calling up, Tegyn goes through all of the stuff in depth, and sometimes that accountant might not be for you, and vice versa, the client might not be for us. We've had instances where we've had to sort of disengage with clients for various different reasons, and sometimes Tegyn's been on the phone to people and said, you know what, after this conversation, I don't really think we're the right fit. We're not always going to be the right fit for everybody. These podcasts that we do in our free time to help everyone may not suit everybody. I think it was last year, and Tegyn knows what I'm going to say because she should find it a bit funny. I had a bit of a complaint in my inbox on Facebook about my sometimes potty language that I use on these podcasts. Now, for me, it's my podcast. I swear if I want to swear. But if you don't like swearing, then probably this isn't the podcast to listen to, or maybe we're not the right accountants for you. You might want someone that has more of a corporate vibe. So it works both ways. So again, a lot of the accountants and part of our process is a discovery call. Some people might call it an onboarding call, discovery call, free chat, whatever they want to call it. And that basically is an idea so we can give you information about us and vice versa. And it's a chance for us to see if we'll be a right fit for us. So Tegyn does all of those chats with everybody. Sometimes, she can be on the phone for like 2 hours, sometimes 10 minutes.
Never 2 hours. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's half an hour. But yeah,
sometimes it's a bit longer.
It's the good chats to have because it gives you the opportunity to get to know the person that's ringing in, a bit of information about them, the business, why they want an accountant. We can ask questions we need to ask, like, how do you keep a record of your income and expenses? How long have you been trading? All the information that we need to know really as well. So they are really good chats. Normally they last about 15-20 minutes. But if I start chatting about dogs, animals, sharks...
yes, it could take a little bit longer than that.
Yeah.
But generally, once you've done all of that research stage, you'll then think, right, I need to call these people, or you can do it through the website, and we'll call you, or they'll call you. Either way, really. But generally, you'd have that first phone call. Now, like I said, that's usually a free 20-minute phone call, and it's not an advice line. It's we or another accountant will tell you about their services, how much they cost, and what they generally do and how they work. And then the accountant or Tegyn will ask you about what business are you? Are you a sole trader, limited company, partnership? How do you keep your records? There's a plethora of questions that we go through, and that's just to get an idea of so we can give you a price, because everybody's situation is different.
And also what service might suit them. Some people might be interested in the bookkeeping. They may have staff and want payroll. We have the all-in-one packages. So it's really important for us to ask the right questions to see what service suits the individual best, really, and go over, what's included in each service and what they'd expect to kind of give them an understanding of what the difference between them, really.
Yeah. So what I would suggest if you do ring up is have some questions ready to ask. So, what services do you offer? Are you licensed? Do you charge for emails and phone calls? Some big accountancy firms will charge you for emails and phone calls and texts and whatever else? Are there any hidden costs? Is your fee a one-off fee? Can I pay monthly? Just all of these things that you don't want to get caught out on. We are very open and honest and transparent about our prices. We don't charge for emails and phone calls unless it gets a bit ridiculous. Where we've not, I don't think we've had that yet.
No.
You know, if you rang us every day for half an hour, then obviously we are going to charge you for it. But, you know, the odd question here and there, if we can answer it quickly, then we will. If it is more of like, I need an hour of your time for tax advice, then generally they are paid extra. But these are the things you need to clarify when you ring up. You know, how do you want my records? Do you charge if I'm on paper? Again, some accountancy firms might charge you extra if you're paper-based rather than if you're on a software like Xero and Free Agent. So there's loads of things to think about and to ask. And don't be afraid to ask. You know, at the end of the day, you're giving people money, you're giving them your business details, you're giving them bank statements, you're wanting them to save you money. Oh, there's Mabel Beans. That's little Mabel, everyone. She was a bit sicky last night, so she's having a work from home day. I think she might have eaten half a dead frog, so that's probably why she was sick. But yeah, so just make sure you have the questions written down and don't be afraid to ask them. And again, you know, on top of that, you've got to feel comfortable talking to that person at the other end of the phone.
I was going to say that. So I had 3 calls yesterday afternoon, and every one of them actually said, you know, I was really worried about contacting the accountant, or I've had an accountant and it's the reason I'm looking elsewhere is due to the lack of communication and support. You know, and I know that you and Lee pride the company, the pet accountant, being a little bit different. We always say to clients, if you've got a couple of questions, don't worry, you know, give us a call, drop us an email. So I always say to people as well, at the end of the day, you've got to feel comfortable. And I think from that initial chat, like I had a lady say yesterday, she's got another call with another accountant. And I said, look, there's no pressure from our side, whether you go with us or not. But you've got to go with somebody you're ultimately comfortable with picking up the phone, ringing. You feel like you can go to them. So that is really important.
Yeah, it's something that, you know, one of the main gripes of everybody that comes on board is from the previous accountant is communication. It's the number one reason why people leave. And like Tegyn said, if you can't feel comfortable, don't feel comfortable picking up the phone to ask a question, whether that be to Tegyn, me, Lee, Abby, Lindsay, Lauren, you know, whoever, then it isn't going to work, and you're going to end up burying your head in the sand, getting stressed, and then just working yourself up, and that's not what we want. You know, we always pride ourselves, say, look, just pick up the phone. The only time we may not answer is if we're, you know, knee deep in a tax return.
There'll always be somebody. There'll always be. We've got a brilliant admin team, like well, Judy, Nicola, myself. Like, there'll always be somebody that can answer the phone. We might not be able to answer all the questions, but we can get somebody to get back in touch with you whenever they're free.
So just make sure that you're comfortable. And like I say, you know, sometimes it works for us as well. We might get a vibe off someone and go, do you know what, actually, you're not, I don't think you'd fit with us, because we have, you know, we want to offer our services and be the best for our clients. And sometimes that doesn't work. So sometimes we have to let clients go. Not very often, it's very rare. But it does happen, and that's just because, you know, if we can't communicate with you, then the relationship's going to break down because we can't do our job properly. So just make sure that you feel comfortable, that you can ring someone up. I had a client yesterday that said, oh, I didn't really want to bother you because it's just a stupid question. And it's like, there's no such thing as a stupid question. You know, I can't groom a dog. So if I was given Mabel and someone said hand strip Mabel, I'd be like, I don't even know what you're saying to me. So what I might feel is a stupid question with regards to dog grooming, but I'm not a dog groomer, so I'm not expected to know. So again, like the admin team, Jodie,
Ladies and payroll manager,
Jude and Tegyn have a basic knowledge anyway, and probably will be able to answer your question without even having to come to us. But generally, we'll always be ready on the phone unless, like I say, we're knees deep in a tax return and we're in the zone and we just don't want to be disturbed because we're concentrating on someone's accounts. But we'll always ring you back. So do your research, check the reviews, get a list of questions together, and make sure you feel comfortable. Are my 3 top tips, and I forgot to put my phone on Do Not Disturb.
But yeah, like you said,
that wasn't really sorry. I just cut you off.
people asking silly questions. There was somebody who was new that I spoke to yesterday, and she said, "Oh, I feel like I'm asking you all silly questions. I don't know about this or this." And well, I think Mabel's joining in.
Oh, Mabel.
And that's normal. Like, when you're new to running a business, we don't expect everybody to know everything. And like, people know my background. Some people do. That I used to be a dog groomer, and I look back to when I set my business up. I didn't really know most of the things they're asking. So a lot of people do say, I feel like I'm asking silly questions. But I always think, well, if you don't ask, you're not going to find out. That's how you learn. So.
And also, if you are a dog groomer, then we have a dog groomer here on hand to answer any questions as far as like having a dog grooming business is concerned, because Tegyn ran a successful one for 6 years. So we're not only be able to help you with the accounts, we do have some grooming knowledge as well. So you can get that.
I've just got Rachel just popped up on the comments and said it was me, Tegyn.
What?
And I spoke to Rachel yesterday. She says it was her asking the silly questions. They weren't silly questions, though. They really weren't. Like, everything that, it was Rachel, but other people I spoke to yesterday were in the similar boat. They're all fairly new to business. And I was saying they're not silly questions. And I think maybe it's quite daunting for people that have like the pet businesses ringing up to an accountancy firm, because they probably do think we're going to be quite like prim and proper, suited, booted, quite serious. Whereas, Vic's got the potty mouth. We're all like quite chatty, like to have a laugh. I don't think we're like a typical accountancy firm, are we? So
no,
we won't laugh at any questions.
No, unless they are funny, in which case we might have a little bit of a chuckle.
It's probably me asking the silly questions, to be honest.
Usually. But yes, don't worry, Rachel. We welcome any questions, so that's absolutely fine. Right, so there's your first steps. Obviously, the next one, which obviously is, everyone asks, is around price. And, if anyone puts in our group, how much is an accountant, I generally don't let that comment in, and there's a reason why. And that's because everybody's situation is different. You're never going to get the same answer. You'll probably get 30 people that say 50 quid, £100, £400, £700, £800, £650. And it just doesn't help anybody, because you're like, oh my God, like there's too many. And unfortunately, because every accountancy firm is different, we charge generally £324 plus VAT for a self-assessment tax return, or £27 a month. But again, that's the basic. You might have staff, then it goes more. You might be VAT registered, you might want bookkeeping, you might be all just receipt based, you might have software. So it's really hard just to say, oh, well, there's your set price. So whenever we get a message saying, how much are your services, you may get a few more questions back to you, because we can't just give you a price. It would be like me ringing up a dog groomer and saying, well, how much to groom my dog, without telling you what dog I've got to groom.
With a Bichon, you say, well, the starting price is this, but is the dog matted? Is the dog going to be okay being groomed? Because often you have dogs that are extremely scared, and the more difficult groups that take longer. So it's not one price fits all, is it, really?
I mean, the only thing I can say is, if you're just wanting your self-assessment done and you don't have any staff and you're not VAT registered and you've got a spreadsheet, things like that, some people have come to us and they've been charged like 900 quid. I feel that's very excessive. And again, if you don't know, you're just going to pay it. We've had people pay £1,000, £1,100 just for a self-assessment in 1 year. No staff, nothing, extra about it. Just do no bookkeeping. Just, can you do my self-assessment, 1,100 quid? That is extortionate. Yeah. If you want to pay it, then happy days. But I would be looking elsewhere.
What's included in that? Because some people ring up and say, the accountant will just take my income, take my expenses figure, submit a tax return. Whereas like you guys, you go through everything thoroughly, absolutely, like every transaction, and make sure everything that's going through is an allowable expense, and like prompt them for other expense and stuff like that. So I guess you've got to ask the question, like, what's included in that fee as well.
Yeah. Again, like I say, so you don't get caught out. We always say, look, we don't charge for emails and phone calls. We give you the set price, and that is the set price, unless you ask for anything additional, like stuff for like a mortgage certificate or setting up your VAT or setting up as an employer. Stuff like that obviously is going to have an extra charge, but generally it's one price and you get that price. So make sure that you ask what is included in that price. And like I said, it's almost impossible to give you like a one size fits all, because it's difficult. Generally, a lot of them will be the same, because a lot of sole traders, if they don't have staff, etc., will probably pay the same. But like I say, it's every accountant's different. Some will charge you more if you're on a spreadsheet than you are software. Some will charge you double if you're on paper. You know, it's kind of one of those situations where, because it's so individual, everyone pretty much gets their own individual price to an extent. But yeah, that's why I don't ever allow how much you pay for an accountant question in the group, because you will just get like 500 different answers and it doesn't help. But again, it's something to always check. You know, you don't want to be paying over the odds if you don't have to. So like I said, we've had, unfortunately, clients that have come to us that have had their eyes out. But again, if you don't know, you don't know. So it's just one of those things that we will try and educate people as best we can. But again, every accountancy firm works different. So it is difficult, but we just want to highlight stuff for you guys to look at if you don't come with us.
That's why them calls are so good, like the 15-minute calls, so we can get an idea of more information about your business, how you keep your record, what service you need, because then from the information we get, we can advise more accurate pricing, can't we, really, than just asking a question.
Claire, yes, that's absolutely fine. Just drop me an email and we can go through and make sure that we've got all the up-to-date information. If there's any extra services that you wanted that we can help with, so yes, just drop me an email and we can sort that out. So once you've done all of this, then you'll be speaking to someone like Tegyn, or if you come to us, it will most likely be Tegyn. And let's just say, yeah, we want to be a client, happy days, we'd love to have you on board. There's then a set process of how it works and how we get as a client. So Tegyn will talk now just briefly, because we haven't got all day. Very briefly, the different stages of once you say, yes, I want you as my accountant, what happens in the background.
So once I've got all the information, I get the go-ahead that you wanted to come on board. We send something called a proposal. So you'd get an email with the services that you're choosing to engage with us, and the fee and a bit of information. And then you basically will just say accept proposal. So we're legally required to do a few checks, like background checks on every client, just to make sure they are who they say they are. So once you click that link, it brings up your own. Sorry, Mabel's crying in the background. I don't know if you can hear her. She's crying or something. But yeah, once you click the link, every client of ours has their own individual portal account on our portal system. So you will have like a portal to fill in with like your personal information, your business information. It's really important that we get all that information pretty quickly, because we rely on having the information to do the checks that we're legally required to do. So that's kind of the process, that if you wanted to come on board, we send you the invite, you click accept proposal, we do everything we need to do as an admin team for the onboarding side of things.
So yeah, basically that is it in a nutshell. It's very, very easy. If you do have a prior accountant and you're coming to us from another accountant, the only added step in there is we send the accountant what's called a professional clearance letter, which basically says that you've approached us, we're now going to take over your tax affairs, and please can we have the following, which is usually their working papers, the tax return, set of accounts, any asset registers that they've done, etc., just to give us the information that we need in order to carry on with your accounts. So it's a very, very straightforward process when you're joining an accountant and if you're moving from another one. Like Tegyn said, each client has their own individual portal system where all the information is held.
You can add the accountant's details in there. So
yes, you just put your accountant's details in there and we contact them on your behalf. Any documents that we send you, so for example, your tax return, your set of accounts and your performance pack, which is what sole traders get. will all be uploaded to your portal system, and then you can sign them, you can e-sign them from that system. So it's all paperless, it's all done very straightforward. You can download the documents and print them off. You can obviously download them and store them onto your computer, or you can just keep them in the portal. Everything stays in that portal, it doesn't go anywhere else. It's GDPR compliant, and it is very, very secure. So it just means that everything's held in one space. And any updated information, whether you change, if you get married or you change address, or things like that, again, can just be done very easily. Change in the portal, let us know, and then we can do the necessary changes. So it's a very, very straightforward system.
And people like, you know, the fact that we contact their previous accountant to say that you're coming on board with us, because some people don't like to have that, oh, I'm actually leaving you, I'm going elsewhere. So the fact that we do that and send them that professional clearance request, it kind of can take away that, you know,
awkwardness.
Yeah, the awkwardness of going, I don't need to be in my account anymore. So that is good as well. But yeah, it's quite straightforward. You know, the admin team really rely on people providing their information quite quickly. What can prolong the onboarding process is if we're having to chase people for information. So like we require a form like ID, like proof of address. So everything's on the email you receive, and I go through like all this on the initial calls if people did say they wanted to go ahead. So then, yeah, we just kind of have to get all the information we can, and then do what we need to do to onboard the client.
And that's not us being picky, by the way. You know, when we chase you for ID and things, it's a legal requirement for our license. So, you know, we would get severely told off if we ever got audited and we had clients on there where we didn't have their ID or proof of address. So again, it's not us nagging, it's a legal requirement that we need to have all of this information to make sure that, you know, we're doing what we said we'd do with our license. So once we've got all that, then that's pretty much it. We will obviously go over and we regularly update the admin side. So every year you might get emails just saying if you've updated your address or if there's anything missing, just to make sure that all the information we have is up to date and correct. Because again, it helps when we're doing your tax return. If we've got access to things and the right information, it just makes your life easier, makes our lives easier, and it just means that we've got the most up-to-date information to work on.
Yeah.
So that's kind of pretty much the process, really. So do your research, check social media, check websites, have a list of questions, make sure you know what you're being charged for, make sure you're comfortable. Yeah, make sure you feel comfortable, which is probably the main one, because at the end of the day, and I know, you know, some people may think accountants are a luxury or surplus to requirements, or I don't need an accountant. You know, we are, or we should be, the first point of contact when you're doing anything, any changes in your business, or you want to grow your business, or you want to look at your profit levels, or if you're going VAT registered, you know, your accountant should be able to guide you through that process. We've had a few people that have gone VAT registered, and we've supported them through that process, and we've given them ideas and, you know, reassured them that, you know, it's going to be fine. You know, that's what an accountant's there for. We're not here just to do your tax return, say hello at the end of the year, here's your tax return, see you later, I'll speak to you again in 12 months. We are there to help you grow your business. That's why we introduced the performance packs. Yeah, that's why we introduced the performance packs for the sole traders, so that it gives you more of an insight into your business and how your business is growing, or if it's not growing, or if it's making a loss. All these things are so important if you're wanting to make a success of your business and make sure that you're going in the right direction. You know, we should, like I say, we should be the first person you call and say, right, I'm thinking of doing this, what do you think? Or can I afford it? You know, should I be going down the route of getting an apprentice, or can I afford an employee? You know, do I go on the flat rate scheme or the standard rate VAT scheme? All of these things are something that we are there to help you with.
The best people to ask, because you're the ones that see the figures and understand the figures.
Yeah, we see figures all the time, especially if we're doing bookkeeping, or, you know, that bookkeeping is good because we can see up-to-date figures. It's really hard if we're just doing self-assessments to advise you, because at the end of the day, those 12 months have now gone. We can't go back and change anything, which is why bookkeeping is such a good tool to have, because we can go through and do things as and when, and we can update you as and when. But, you know, like I say, everyone wants different things, so that's absolutely fine. Just a quick reminder before we end this episode. is Making Tax Digital is sneaking up. That is going to be 2026. So after this 24-25 tax return, you've only got one more to do before everything goes digital. Now, again, we haven't been given, finite details as to what that's going to include or who it's going to affect. But what we have been given so far is that if I think it's your turnover, again, they haven't really clarified whether it's turnover or profit. I think it's turnover is over 30 grand, then you will have to go digital from 2026, which means you have to use software like Free Agent or Xero. You then have to report something to HMRC every 3 months. So it's kind of similar to the VAT, where you've got to submit a VAT return every 3 months. You've got to submit a financial statement every 3 months to HMRC. What that includes, I have no idea because they haven't told us. But there's going to be big changes in 2026. So if you're earning over 30 grand turnover or profit and you're not on software, then I would definitely suggest at the latest next year, so the start of the 25-26 tax year, that you get yourself in software ready for that change, because it is going to be a bit of a mammoth task. So just bear that in mind. Obviously, as we get more information about that, as we get near the time, we'll share it with you guys and go through anything that we need to talk to you guys about. Other than that, if there's no more questions, thank you very much for joining us today. We will be back next week will we? Or Lee might be. I might not be here. But hopefully Lee will be here next week talking about assets and what is an asset and how to put them on your tax return, how to record them. So that's going to be a really, really good one, especially if you're doing your own tax return. Mabel's staring at me like, why are you on the telly, Mummy? Bless her.
On there. Say hello, everyone.
Bless her little heart. So Mabel's our probably 13-month-old dachshund.
Yeah.
And she is a bit of a cuddle bunny. She's extremely cute. But yes, we'll be back without Mabel, probably Lee and Abby maybe next week, talking about assets. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
If you do want to have a chat with us, then you can call us on this number. Ooh, get me with technology. Or you can drop us a Facebook message, DM us on Instagram, or drop us an email at inquiries@petaccountant.co.uk.
Or website contact form.
Yes, you can do it on the website,
Yeah.
which is here. Yay. But yes, however you want to do it, check out our reviews, look at what other clients are saying about us if you're unsure. You don't get any pressure from us. If you don't want to come on board at the end of the phone call, that's absolutely fine. And if you do go to another accountant, like I say, just make sure you do your
due diligence. I can't say.
Jodie's saying she'll be the question master next week, so it might be Jodie. We're just getting all of our staff on these lives. So we've had Jodie, who's our payroll manager, was on a couple of weeks ago. Abby, who's one of our accountants, she was on last week, and obviously Tegyn this week. So who knows who we'll have next week. But yes, thank you very much for listening. I hope you all have a great week. And yes, just remember to keep all your receipts and make lots of money, and we will we'll see you next week. You always laugh at that. So you always say that. So now I have to, because you pointed it out.
Well, I pointed out that Vicky said that at the end of every live. She went, no, I didn't. And then I went through, because the lives are pinned at the top of the group. And at the end of every live, it's like her slogan.
I know.
Keep your receipts, make lots of money.
So I feel like we should have that as a slogan on our tops or something on the back. We will be at Groom Fest in September as well. So if you want to come and chat to us, then Dogs Bollocks of Accountants.
Dogs Bollocks of Accountants. I love that.
The website. But yes, have a great week, everyone. Like I say, keep using the group. And yeah, invite people to the group if they're not in there, if they need any help. And yeah, hopefully we'll speak to some of you on the phone. If not, we'll catch up with you guys next week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.